Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. I finally have Sage back. at least for like a temporary jump, because it happens to be a short topic today. Let's see if we can stay short as a video. So, how you doing, Sage?
I mean, I'm all right. Could be better.
Could be worse.
Certainly true.
You're supposed to say, no, it is at the bottom. But anyway, we have a Tolkien-themed topic today, and unfortunately, Sage's camera broke after his OnlyFans account crashed, so...
Yep.
Yeah. He just couldn't keep up the bills. But anyway, we are jumping into
the hard life in Europe.
You're not wrong. Actually, ironically. But for those of you who are familiar with Rings of Power, you also may be familiar with those who shill for Rings of Power and that kind of content, claiming it to be that of the Tolkien Legendarium, we'll say.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think I've ever actually seen any of it.
Well, you're about to.
Fuck.
So, let's jump in. This is a very, very unfortunate video to watch. So if you read the caption here, it says, "Me too, 2 weeks ago, surprisingly watching Rings of Power helped me finally understand and be able to imagine how the story evolved." That's not the caption, that's the little bubble at the top.
So is that like the person in the video that's saying that? Or
no,
is
it's a comment to her videos. Comment to her videos or something. The actual caption says, "Rings of Power is bringing new people into the Tolkien fandom. You can help me welcome them or get out of my way." Or, no.
I mean, we'd welcome them, but first we have to, teach them the actual Tolkien stuff.
We would gatekeep them until they learn, at least, that Rings of Power is not part of Tolkien's world to some extent, because going in and saying like, why are there no black elves, why are there no Asian elves, why are there no fat elves, why, like, going all of a sudden like this whole body positivity or racial or whatever, why aren't there more female warriors, like all that kind of stuff, to be like, well guys, I have something bad to tell you. Like, it's kind of like, oh, that was the great genocide of Middle Earth. second age.
Yeah, we forgot about that.
I forgot about that one. Yeah, all the female warriors died.
Well, it actually happened in the Third Age, right? So,
well, no, it would have happened at the end of the Second Age, because the Third Age would have been where, everything was corrected.
Yeah, so beginning Third Age.
I mean, it sounds better. Like, that genocide is the end of the Second Age, and then the Third Age is clean, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, we could move the starting point for the Third Age a bit back. That's
literally got to be just like right before it hits Third Age, so it doesn't matter. All right, let's just jump into this person, and I'm sorry, this person's voice annoyed me, so my apologies. Let me know if it's too loud.
Hey, this comment was left on a video where someone was talking about reading the Silmarillion for the first time. They watched Rings of Power. It made them understand the world of the Silmarillion better. And that is brilliant. Why wouldn't we, as Tolkien fans...
Now, I would agree it's brilliant that somebody watching something that might be associated, allegedly, with Tolkien, to get them excited about Tolkien books. Sure. But if you're jumping into the Silmarillion as your first entry point, after watching Rings of Power, that's going to be a wreck.
If you can make it work, yeah, wow, amazing.
At that point, you have superpowers.
Yeah, but typically, I would not recommend that. As the first book.
We're like, start with the Hobbit. Start with the Hobbit.
Not even like the fifth.
We'll start with the Hobbit. Ease yourself into Lord of the Rings, and once you have understood and comprehended, well, this is freaking fantastic. It's like, okay, let's go find the iceberg that is the Silmarillion and dip your toes into it, because it's huge. It's a big, ginormous story that's actually padded down pretty good. Christopher Tolkien thankfully made basically novels of each of them individually, based off his father's notes, so that we could have a lot more. Huh?
Only for one of them. The others are sort of more like history, how Tolkien made those stories.
Well, there's the histories of Middle Earth. I'm not referring to those.
No, I'm talking about like Children of Húrin, Baron and Luthien, that sort of thing. Only Fall of Gondolin, I think, is an actual story.
Well, from what I understand, and I have them, I just haven't had time to read them. Fall of Gondolin, Baron and Luthien, and all that stuff is basically the Silmarillion story, but fleshed out a bit more into actual novels.
Yeah, but it's actually sort of just a collection of all the info on them, and with different versions of it, with sort of commentary.
I don't remember that when I read Children of Húrin, but maybe it's been a while, or maybe they have
Well,
different editions.
I'm thinking primarily of Baron and Luthien when I say this.
Oh. Yeah, I'd have to go back and read them again. I've been meaning to, but I just don't have time anymore. Full-time YouTuber, I'm going to be reading all these freaking books. That's not happening, though, unfortunately. So, her voice just annoys me. I apologize.
Be excited about that, and that's why you will never find me disparaging someone who comes to...
It's disparaging to tell somebody, yeah, Rings of Power is not anything in the canon.
Tolkien by way of an on-screen adaptation, because
nobody cares about the on-screen adaptation being the gateway you got into Tolkien. People care about the on-screen adaptation because it's not Tolkien.
It's not an adaptation.
Yeah, people don't understand how adaptation works. Adaptation is taking what's written and putting it into another, like from one medium to another medium. In this case, from book to film, it's just taking the book and putting it in film. It's not rewriting the story entirely, which is what Rings of Power did.
Because that's how I got into the world of...
Okay, some of these say, I became a Tolkien superfan because of the vastly imperfect adaptations of Peter Jackson made. And obviously Matt would agree with that. I think they're the best cinema in existence, but I do agree they don't match up with the books perfectly. But it's still an entertaining version to watch. Whether you like it or not, Rings of Power...
It at least tries, right?
They at least said we're trying to fit it into this medium, and they had limitations. For one, because there was no epic fantasy at this point that had that kind of a budget, and a series that had that much of a following. So they didn't exactly have much to like work off of. Like, it's worth sinking all this money into it, right? And all of the movies I think made like 2 to 3 times their money. So it's obviously worth sinking money into. It was a lot of money. And they still today, anytime they go into theaters, they sell out of all their shows and they make money off of that.
Movies.
Yeah, they're great movies. And she continues in the red box. Whether you like it or not, Rings of Power is doing the same for people now. That's not a like it or not as much as they're two entirely different things. One's plagiarism.
Well, no, see, it's
a plagiaristic fanfic.
Peter Jackson, sure, imperfect movies, but they had maybe like 80 to 90% somewhere of book content. So if you go read the books, you do recognize a whole bunch of stuff, even if the writing style is probably very different from the movie type feel.
But what they had to adapt, I think they did as best as they could with a limited budget. Considering how many actual pieces of armor that Weta Workshops actually made, and all the care they took to make everything of like Hobbiton, Minas Tirith, Edoras, exactly. Helm's Deep, all that, phenomenal work, especially on a limited budget. And they also had to get a bunch of actors and stuff. And nowadays, several of them are extremely well known. Back then, a couple of them were so well known, like Christopher Lee and stuff. But like this is exponentially shot all of the people who basically starred in Lord of the Rings to a level of legendary status amongst actors and actresses. So it's not like something where you can just dismiss what happened, because it was obviously fantastic. I have never seen a movie outside of Lord of the Rings that was rated PG-13 for epic battles. Who does that? That's one of a kind.
That's a good one. I mentioned it.
I've never ever heard anybody say epic battles is it's on the rating on the back of the DVDs. It says PG-13 for epic battles and violence. And I'm like, you don't get epic battles on a rating system unless you're freaking good at it, and they give you chills every single time you watch it.
Yeah.
In the bottom,
Of course, Rings of Power. They only have some names that match, and technically, right, the events.
and some of those they can't even
Forging of
pronounce
the
right.
Rings. Sorry.
I said in some of those they can't even pronounce right.
Oh yeah.
Would say one of the showrunners is allegedly a super fan of Tolkien's, which you wouldn't know by watching their work. But the bottom red box says you don't have to like the show, and here's a glitch of the grammar. But as a Tolkien, they're supposed to be as a Tolkien fan, but as a Tolkien,
I too am a Tolkien.
I too am hello, my fellow Tolkien. You can at least be excited about that. I'm like,
I mean,
what?
it's nice.
I'm excited that people are coming to Tolkien. What I'm not
Exactly.
excited about is that them coming to Tolkien through a false sense of this is what the story's like. Because if they come to it that way, they're going to ask questions. Because they're looking at it. It's like if you come to the world from the window of everything's diverse, everything's, feminist, everything's like that.
It's
and then you go to a
like,
world that's not, and you're like
when you watch the Wheel of Time TV show.
Yeah.
And then go read the books and don't find a Moraine Swan romance story. Where the fuck did that go?
It's almost like
Why is it not there?
they took that from a line said by an unreliable narrator and ran with it. And it's like, but it's an unreliable narrator. They make the assumption that that's what they're doing, but there's never, ever actually stated that that's what they do.
Mm-hmm. In fact, it's actively disproven by how the characters act towards one another in the book where it's mentioned.
Even when they were young, they still behaved like friends.
It's mentioned in that book.
Oh, you're talking in
New Spring is where the quote they use comes from, right?
I don't know if it was New
later?
Spring. I think they were talking about it at some point. It could be New Spring, but there's 15 books. I can't freaking keep up with all that. But there is an Aes Sedai specifically says a one line saying they were always together and they were pretty much pillow friends. And I'm sitting there like, but that's you saying, like, are you watching them be pillow friends? Like, they're mostly doing pranks together at this point. They're doing pranks together. They're giggling like little girls. And they're always together and they're best friends. But if you look at their personalities...
Yeah, let's go to Harry Potter. Everyone knows that. They're basically Fred and George, but not siblings.
So gay.
Sure, yeah, let's go with that.
I don't know much about Harry Potter, unfortunately, outside of, like, Hogwarts Legacy. But...
Yes, and Fred and George are like the troublemakers of the school.
Yeah, well, they're platonic, right? They're just, like, they're friends. They're Sam and...
Yeah.
They're brothers ones.
So in Harry Potter, they're twins.
Okay, yeah, there you go. But I'm saying, like, their relationship is that of, like, Frodo and Sam, where they're, like, really, really close, but they get into a lot of mischief together.
That.
Oh, they're not close?
Well, no, close is maybe underselling it for some people, right?
Well, I'm not talking about fanfic. I'm talking, like, legit story.
Yeah.
I'm talking the actual story, because everyone thinks Sam and Frodo are gay, and it's like... No, the word "gay" in Lord of the Rings means
it's just
queer,
if you're trying to convince
strange.
These types of people that are all over the romance stories,
especially the women's romance stories.
Yeah, maybe the Sam Frodo example is not a great.
Well, but I'm talking like what the relationship actually is like, not what people perceive the relationship to be like. Like the difference is like you have two friends that are really close and they'll do basically anything for each other, but they're not in a sexual tension-based relationship
maybe
at all.
Maybe Pippin and Merry.
Merry and Pippin? Or what?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You just said Merry, so I didn't hear Pippin. It's just like
I said Pippin and Merry.
Oh, maybe you said it out of order, and that's why I didn't hear it because it uses Merry and Pippin, not Pippin and Merry. But anyway.
Wow. And why does the order suddenly have to be?
Because it sounds better in English. Also because M comes before P. But anyway. Wow, my stomach is grumbling. I hope you guys can't hear that. But when it comes to like people entering into the Tolkien legendarium and the Tolkien fan space, we want people
first have to read the Silmarillion. Yes.
No, they don't. But they have to understand that what they're getting in Rings of Power is not what they're getting in the material. They will never find it. It doesn't exist. Nothing about it is accurate. They don't even get the rings being made in order correctly.
Well,
nothing about
I
it's
don't think
accurate,
that's
really.
necessarily that big of a deal.
I mean, it kind of is,
I mean,
because if you make the
it's
Elvish
wrong, of
rings,
course, right?
if you make the Elvish
I
rings, they're
think
supposed to be free of Sauron's
it's more
interaction.
important that the motivation behind making the rings is correct.
Yes, but if Sauron had his fingers on the Elvish rings, they'd be no different than any of the other rings.
Exactly. Yes.
But he had his fingers on those
But
rings.
they made
They just took them from him.
the
Allegedly.
Elvish one specifically to counter the tainted nature
rot.
of the other ones.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
that is more problematic, to use your favorite words.
Problematic.
Than the order being wrong.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Tolkien. This page would not exist if I hadn't watched the Peter Jackson film.
Good for you. I'm glad you
Mhm.
enjoyed the movies. I'm glad you got into the Tolkien fandom. That's not a problem. The
Yeah.
problem is you're trying to sell somebody that isn't like something you should be selling. Like the same thing as if I said, in another dimension that I would off myself if I ever did this, if I ever said, go watch Amazon's Wheel of Time, and people watch that and they're like, oh, I'm going to go read the books, and then they go read the books, all I'm setting up, like if they like the show because of how the show is completely divisive in the fandom, if they go to that and say, this is how Wheel of Time is, and then they go read the books and they find out it's not at all like that, despite it being a very progressive book series for its time. It's not at all like that. At all. It's none of that stuff's promoted. None of that behavior is pushed.
It would be like if I were just watched the Avatar, the Legend of Aang film by what's his name?
Any of them.
Shyamalan.
That's all I have to do. Any of them.
And then come in to the actual story, the cartoon, expecting that to be how it is. It's not going to work out.
Yeah, it wouldn't work out because that's not at all the kind of content that you're going to get. Because, I mean, yeah, TV shows.
It would be like
be
watching
more fleshed out,
Aragorn and then going to read the books and totally being confused.
Aragon, not Aragorn, but yeah.
I said Aragorn.
I know, but your accent came in, so I'm clarifying for people so they don't accidentally like. Oh, it's like reading about Aragorn and then going and reading the books. I'm like, well, yeah, but I mean, you'll get accurate if you get that, or at least somewhat accurate. Aragon's a different beast. I remember very little of that, but I'm not gonna go there. But I'm happy.
A bad adaptation.
Yes, a famously humongous waste of Jeremy Irons.
What is it? Legend of the Seeker? That's also one.
Legend of the Seeker is one, but it actually did surprisingly well.
Did it?
In terms of like it's not nearly as bad as what you might expect from an adaptation. It's not the same by any means as the books, but it's not bad as an adaptation. Like it doesn't completely derail everything and just bastardize the characters' personalities and desires and stuff. Like,
but yeah, the point is clear.
Yeah, it's a little bit clear. Also, the wizard in that show, I can't remember his name for the life of me. He's actually in the extended edition of Return of the King as the Mouth of Sauron.
I would never have known.
I mean, you probably would have,
because you don't really see his face, right? So
you don't. I didn't know that either until I happened across something that said, "Hey, it's this guy's birthday, and he played the Mouth of Sauron." And I was like, "Oh, I know that guy from Legend of the Seeker. Now I know him from Lord of the Rings too." And it's only an extended edition, so you wouldn't know it if you didn't watch.
Yeah, who's Mouth Sauron? What?
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't in Rings of Power. He must be gay. Anyway,
I mean, Sauron has a regular mouth, right?
Sorry, what?
He's just a normal person with a mouth.
Oh yeah, he's a very beautiful, kind-hearted smith that just wants to be left alone.
Yeah.
Accuracy.
Read Lord of the Rings first. I absolutely hated it.
That's a problem. That's a you problem. But it's kind of understandable because Tolkien has a very old English-y type reading or writing style. So when you read it, you have to. Yeah, it's like being familiar with the KJV. It's kind of a mess to read because it's just. No one speaks that way. But it's still good.
Not anymore. But they did.
No one speaks that way is a present thing, by the way. Just FYI. I didn't say no one ever did. I just said no one, which is present tense. Thank you.
Well, I mean, maybe some random old people.
Immortals don't exist. You're getting yourself confused in Legendariums. Anyway,
I watched the Peter Jackson films, and that made me interested to try the books again. And I'm
again, good for you. You should promote that to people, not the Rings of Power. Like, if you were like, I disavow, which I don't think she does disavow Rings of Power, but if she were to disavow Rings of Power and say, watch Peter Jackson's films, you're gonna love it. That would be fine. I mean, I'd even say to some extent promote The Hobbit, because at least it's more accurate than Rings of Power in every sense of the word, even in the most inaccurate senses.
Yeah,
But
don't do the extended though.
I mean, I do, just because there is that one where somebody took the thing and they like fan made it when they clipped out all the stuff, put it in order, and it's like an actual Hobbit story, but it's like it's much shorter. I still
And
have
also
to find
actually
it.
good. I can give you a link.
Oh, shoot. Send me that after this, because I want to watch the ever-loving crap out of that, because I need to put it, like, burn it on a Blu-ray or something and then watch it or something. I don't know how to do it, but that's something I personally look forward to, because I want to be able to enjoy The Hobbit as The Hobbit should have been. Even though I enjoy the Battle of Five Armies extended edition because of the cart popping all those heads. It's freaking great. And it's the only rendition that we get of anything Tolkien that's rated R. I kind of wish they all were rated R, but that's just my personal preference, which does not necessary, but it wouldn't hurt me if they were.
so glad I did. So that is happening for people with Rings of Power too, and that's why
But for the wrong reasons, that's my problem with it.
I mention Rings of Power in my videos, and you would not believe the amount of nasty, hateful comments I get for briefly mentioning Rings of Power in the intro of my videos.
Well, there's a simple fix for that. Just don't mention Rings of Power in your initial intro. Just be like, hey, if you're a fan of Rings of Power, go watch Peter Jackson's stuff instead. Or watch them to know what more or less you're going to be getting out of Lord of the Rings. Like, that seems like a pretty basic entry level kind of a thing. But those hateful comments are people saying Rings of Power isn't real lore. Rings of Power is fake. Rings of Power is fanfic. Rings of Power is blah, 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 blah. Like all that type of stuff.
I mean, that doesn't sound like hate comments.
Well, it is if you're a brainwashed moron.
But the reason I do that is intentional, because of comments like this where people are watching Rings of Power and then they want to know more. They want to know about the lore. They want to...
I want to know how disappointed I am going to be when I get to the lore. That's what they want to do.
Get in.
But we also have the people, and the same thing goes for Wheel of Time. You'll have people who go from the Wheel of Time show on Amazon and think that's the story in the books. And when they get to the books and they find out, no, there's not a whole bunch of threesomes being actively, explicitly shown. No, there's not a whole horde of lesbian relationships throughout the entire series. There's a couple that stand out pretty obviously because they're essential to the plot, mostly through blackmail. But there's a whole world of stuff that's entirely different because they're being sold a lie. It's like saying, you should buy this rug. It's a Persian rug. It's made of the highest quality stuff. Then you get home and you flip it over, and inside this tag says made in China, and it falls apart in the first week.
Oh no.
That's what you're trying to promote. That you're saying, here's something that is not accurate. Here's something that doesn't actually exist, and there's stuff that has no relation to the series in any shape or form, and we're going to fill the story with that instead of the actual plot line. Oh no, why is it doing so bad? Because people want to see a new medium. Like, the reason people read the books and say, ooh, they have audiobooks, and then they go listen to the audiobooks. It's not because they hate books, it's because they're interested in hearing what it sounds like from an alternate medium. Thus an adaptation, because an audiobook is more or less an adaptation, but it's literally a one-to-one adaptation. Unless you're doing the dramatization ones where they have like a whole cast of people, then they skip a bunch of stuff. But they more or less, for an actual narration unabridged audiobook, you're getting the entire thing one for one. It's just being read, and they might change their voice for characters like Michael Kramer and Kate Redding, which I always enjoy. Best narrators ever. Although I do really like why am I scribbling on his name? Gollum.
Don't know.
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis.
There we go. Okay, my brain was farting for some reason. His renditions are fantastic of the Lord of the Rings. And I need to find them. I can't find them anywhere physically. But if you have people who are fans come into this through an incorrect way, they're going to have the same problem that a lot of so-called alleged Wheel of Time fans have now, which is you have people who are watching the show and praising the show and saying they love the books and the show, but they diametrically oppose one another. Like, in every way possible. One has no storyline because none of it makes sense. It's shattered. It's made up conveniently when it necessarily needs to be. Characters do things outside of their own character's personality, and their growth is all over the freaking place. Nothing makes any sense. Like, they are not the same by any stretch of the imagination. But of course,
However, it does have like a very slight shadow of what it could be, right? So if that's used as, oh, this is interesting,
well, as I would
I want to
say
know more.
from
and that
Aragorn
thing.
and Lord of the Rings, is it is only but a shadow of a thought that you love. That's basically what book readers get out of the show. Is it's only a shadow of a thought that we're getting anything remotely close to the story. And most of that came in third season, and even then sometimes it's like, oh, he's gay. Well, how is this guy supposed to have a whole bunch of descendants? Don't know. Like, it's
Yeah, that's
it was frustrating.
something.
It was something I did not want to see or understand the concept of.
Into this Tolkien community, and why would
But the problem is that the people got in the Wheel of Time community, they're misleading people, or they're trying to take it over. That's why people should have gatekept it. But people who did were called book cloaks, and those who didn't were called show fans. And the show fans were trying to corrupt the books, essentially. Because there are, in some situations, fandoms where they get so big, and this is not the normal measure by any matter, but those who are like, our version of it's better. My head canon is better than that of the author's canon. And therefore, they push so hard that maybe there's a revised edition comes out for their book, and then like even the author for The Witcher books is considering editing out a line about the Witcher schools in his book because they made a big deal about the Witcher schools and everyone's going nuts about the Witcher. I'm like, you put something in there people like, and you're like, I'm going to edit this out because meh. I'm like, that's kind of stupid, but okay. So that kind of stuff can happen. It's not very common, thankfully. But if that does happen, you've ruined an entire book series. And then the people, when the normal books are gone and they don't have access to them anymore because they're not being published or printed, and now you're going to have the new stuff, and everyone who comes afterwards is going to come on those and think, oh, this is the original lore. And it's not. And it's going to cause a lot more problems because down the road, who's going to remember the author? Now, for one line of like the Witcher schools, it's not going to change everything necessarily. But people who came to the Witcher books by the games, it'll throw everything off. Even though City Project Red was trying to be as accurate to the books as possible, just not stepping on any toes, which is very nice of them to do.
I mean, with specifically games that you control your own character in, that's never going to be accurate, right?
Yeah. Although you don't get to choose your school, you're part of the wolf anyway.
would we not welcome
Fair.
the people who are doing that?
Why would we not welcome them? Because we're cautious about them. We've been burned too many times. We've been hurt too many times. We don't want to just let somebody in and then them pull the Uruk-hai berserker who blows up the wall of Helm's Deep. We don't want that. And obviously, that's
we
not
first
book
have
related.
to shoot them a few times. What?
We have to put them down first. What?
I literally just blocked a person who was following me, who went to one of my videos where I talked about Rings of Power, and they left a really nasty comment.
But you're not going to post. Convenient that. You're just going to trust me, bro. Now, could there be somebody who has an actual nasty comment? Sure.
I mean, there's always bad people everywhere, right?
Sure. They made Rings of Power, after all. But to not show us the receipts, now it sounds like you're just farming engagement or virtue signaling in some shape or form.
I blocked it and removed that person from this community because it's just not pleasant to have something that you are talking about, that you enjoy, that other people enjoy, and then just have people swoop in like seagulls.
Okay, let her finish this.
And crap all over it.
But here, swooping like seagulls and poop all over it, because seagulls poop all over the boardwalks at beaches.
It seems awfully specific.
Well, nobody likes to get pooped on by a seagull, Sage.
That's fair.
Now, in this particular situation, it's not fun when, you know, people enter in the space and make people not like something. It's like, but hold on. People defending the thing they love is apparently nasty, but people coming in and desecrating a sacred space is not nasty?
Wait a moment.
That doesn't make sense. If somebody's just pissing all over Rings of Power, it's not the end of the world, because Rings of Power is not canon. Whoopity-doo. Now, if somebody comes in and pisses, like, your community was probably started before Rings of Power, I would assume, since you said the reason you got into it was because of the Tolkien's, or Jackson's trilogy, as opposed to Rings of Power. So you presumably had this before Rings of Power come in. I don't know. It could be different. But if that's the case, then you eliminating the Rings of Power talk from your conversation, just saying, hey, no more talks about Rings of Power, except that maybe you came here through Rings of Power. That's it. And then make that a rule. I don't think anybody else would have problems with it. Probably. Well, that, or she wants to be so inclusive that she, you know, kills off the actual Tolkien fan base and builds this false one that doesn't care about Tolkien. Now, I'm not saying that every person who watches Rings of Power and then comes into it and says, hey, I really like this, I'm gonna jump into the rest of the Tolkien Legendarium. So you mean you're going to jump into the Tolkien Legendarium because there's no rest of Tolkien Legendarium when this stuff didn't happen. But if they're going to join in and be like, wow, I really like the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and the Silmarillion, that's great and dandy. Nobody's going to have problems with that. It's when they start saying, but why aren't there more black elves? Why aren't there more black hobbits? Why aren't there more Asian elves? Why aren't there more female warriors?
To be fair, though, it seems like this is more so a case of, I don't know what the comment said, of course, but it sounds like it's just someone criticizing Rings of Power.
Yes, but if you go in and say, if somebody says, oh, I loved the black elves and the diversity in Rings of Power, you're like, but there are no black elves. That's a nasty comment. It's just like, well, it's not. It's a fact. It's true.
Yeah, but I mean, it seems.
But the thing is, she doesn't
to block that.
Well, yes, but not really. If you're a virtue signaler and you're trying to gain a following by looking all high and mighty, that's not weird at all.
Fair enough.
So that's actually par for the course. So.
But that just proves that they're not really a fan.
Yeah, but they'd say, well, I like the books and the movies, and the shows in the Wheel of Time community sense. And they're like, so what do you say about that? I'm like, well, if you like the show that craps all over the books, as she says, like a bunch of seagulls, that craps all over the books, and you like that, you cannot, by definition, be a fan of the books. Because the books were set by the author's imagination and the author's will, and prescribed to paper with intent. Even if sometimes everything wasn't clear to even Robert Jordan. Sometimes you had to change things. I think book
I
3.
don't think that matters too much.
But if
it matters what's in the book, right? Not what the person
because, well,
writing
the author still intended for what he wrote to be written. That's why he wrote it. Whether or not he closes every, plot line, that's a different story. But if somebody else comes in and says, I'm going to make this thing that's clearly inferior, even if it's not inferior, even if it's superior, it's not the same as the content. So you can't be like, I'm a fan of both of them because they're the same thing. You could say, I'm a fan of Tolkien stuff over here and I like Rings of Power stuff over here, but I recognize they're not the same thing. That's a totally different argument. I'd still think you're retarded, but it's not the same as saying I like A and B, even though they're diametrically opposed to each other.
And tell you why they think it's garbage and why they think it's stupid that you like it. I don't enjoy that. It's stressful for me. It's stressful for other people. And
How is it
stressful?
How is it stressful to be told what you like isn't real?
No. So why is it stressful that to hear that what you like someone else does not?
Well,
That's the
because
real
everyone
question.
has to agree with you, otherwise they're bigots. Where have you been the last 10 years?
Well, yeah, no, I know that, but I was just pointing out the problem.
Well, yeah, but that's why they block people, so they don't have to be stressed out by people disagreeing with them. Because it's stressful if I say I like X food, like pick a food, fill it in, and somebody says, "Well, I don't like that food.
Hey, I
It tastes
don't like that.
disgusting." Well, you
How
know
dare
what?
you?
That's because you're a
That's
bigot.
disgusting.
That's because you're a bigot, Sage. You don't understand. How dare you disagree with me on something?
On pizza? How dare you?
We only like echo chambers in these parts. But yeah.
Yeah, so you would have to ban me now because I said I didn't like pineapple on pizza, right?
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, anyway, we'll get back to... So, welcome back.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you noticed that, but yeah.
Oh, I did.
Okay. Playing the
I
part well.
notice everything.
No, you don't.
Most things.
Not even close. Some things. There you go. Anyway.
It's just pointless because Rings of Power, while not a perfect adaptation,
It's not even an adaptation. That's the problem.
I mean,
like literally,
depends
if you go to
on
college
how
and write
much-
a paper with Rings of Power being your story, they would just say it's plagiaristic.
Actually, no, it's true. It's not an adaptation because there's no source material on the specific moment in the Second Age.
Well,
Aside from
everything's out of order. Everything's done incorrectly. Nothing makes sense.
the making of the rings. That's the
Galadriel
only thing.
turns Sauron into the wicked evil man he always was, right? Oh wait, no.
Yeah, wait.
Galadriel and Sauron have a thing for each other. The frick are you
What?
on about? This is literally just fanfic.
Wait, are we still talking about the commander of the Northern armies?
That doesn't actually exist in that position, but yeah.
No, I'm sure it exists. It was in Rings of Power after all.
It's definitely Galadriel, who actually killed or defeated an ice troll in under 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I heard it multiple
In the
times on a
Second
meme
Age,
video
yes.
in the Second Age. But yeah, trying to explain to somebody that's not real, it's clearly stressful for people because they don't know how to live in a world where people disagree with them. That's the problem.
by any means, is doing this. It's bringing people into the community.
You're kicking people out of the community. So whoever you bring in, you're not getting bigger. You're just reducing the disagreement. But even Tolkien fans will disagree about stuff. How about you talk in your channel about Balrogs and wings? That'll destroy your community.
Yeah.
Like, and those who
They
you think,
definitely have wings.
and shut up. You're a liar and a bigot. You're a liar. Don't do it, Anakin. But yeah, like it's pretty blatant. Actually, on Critic List, it's really funny because there's two groups. One say Balrogs have wings, and one says Balrogs don't have wings. So I obviously joined the correct one because from the
wing
literature,
one, yes.
from the literature itself, there are no wings. Game over. I mean, you don't have to go beyond that, but yeah,
Well, except the literature also says they have wings.
it does not say they have wings. It's
Yeah,
they
it does.
have shadows like wings. It doesn't say they have wings.
Yeah, but that's the same thing because they're.
That's
ethereal
not
beings.
how like works in the grammatical sense. Shadows appear to be like wings. They look like wings, but they're not wings. That's why it's like wings. If he had wings, you just say shadow like wings. In other words, they're wings made of shadow.
Yeah, but
Shadow
poets
rot
don't
wings.
speak literally.
Well, apparently they can't speak anyway without you misinterpreting it. But you cannot find a grammatical structure in Lord of the Rings about the Balrogs that implies they have the ability to fly. The War of the Ring, or not the War of the Ring. Which one's the Morgoth and Gondolin and everything? That was
I don't know which
the
specific.
War of the
part you're
Jewels. I
talking
think
about.
is the one I'm thinking
Oh
of.
yeah, sure, but that's like a very long one.
Well, yes, but I'm saying like when the Balrogs are used, right? The Balrogs, in every instance, are walking. If they had wings, it would be game over in a lot of scenarios, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They
Because
don't have
everyone knows
wings.
penguins can fly.
So you're telling me that Morgoth / Melkor would waste his power to create a non-functional thing when he gives the vampires wings who can fly?
Yeah, but they're a lot smaller.
We don't know the size of the vampires, actually.
Well, I mean, fair
Checkmate,
enough.
Sage! His argument begins to crumble before his very eyes. But no, this is the kind of stuff that if we were to do on her channel, like talk about vampires and wings and Balrogs
Yeah,
and
we
wings and
would
all
get
stuff,
banned.
we'd get banned because it's stressful. But on critic list, we just show up the other group saying, "Ha, you're a bunch of losers." And even though I think some art with the wings looks cool, I disagree with it because it's not real. You can't be like, shadow-like wings. Not shadow-like as in hyphen, but like shadows like wings, as in they appear to be wings. It's just shadow. It's not shadow wrought. Like, knowing Tolkien, he'd probably say something like shadow wrought wings. Something like that. That would mean shadows that are wings, but made of shadow. So there's no physical necessity to them per se. Or wings that emit shadow or something. Like he would have a variety of ways he could wax it eloquently. He didn't use any of
emitting
those.
shadows mean?
Like you'd have wings, but you wouldn't be able to see the physical aspect because it's like if you have wings made of flame, you could have physical wings that just punch out
just
fire.
Shadow comes out of them.
Well, no, I'm saying if you have like an actual, like, let's say you have a dragon, but when you extend their wings, instead of it being like you seeing the actual physical wing, it's just made of fire. There's actually something physical. There could be bones, there could be a magically imbued stuff that's fire resistant, whatever, but they're all the time just constantly emitting flame from every pore. You can't see the physicalness of it. There's still physicalness there. It's just you would only see the flames. See what I'm saying? Like if you got hit with it, it wouldn't be just, ooh, fire went through me. It'd be like you got swatted across the room or across the mountain or whatever.
Yeah, but if we're talking about shadows, that's specifically the absence of light, right? So it doesn't really work the same way.
So you're saying that he doesn't have wings?
No, I'm saying that they can't emit shadows.
Well, he's emitting fire from his body, so that's awkward.
I guess so.
Anyway, we would get banned from her channel or community.
To be
or
fair,
whatever.
Balrogs are really weird because they are creatures made of shadow and fire, so the combination is awkward.
Wreathed of fire and flame. And shadow. But anyway, they are awkward, but one thing we can absolutely 100% positively know is they don't have wings. Everything else is up for debate. That is not up for debate because the literal source material states it.
Even if you're right that it's not written anywhere specifically that they have wings, we don't know that they do not.
We do.
Did it specifically say these Balrogs definitely don't have wings?
Yes.
In the Legendarium.
It does.
Where?
In the books.
A specific sentence?
That's because I remember I saw the books. But no, if you don't have that would be an argument from silence, and that would be faulty. And again, if they had wings, like everything about them is going to be raw purpose for destruction, winning wars, defeating enemies and foes. Also, you have the problem of if he had wings, he could have flown out of the chasm him and Gandalf fall down.
No, also vestigial.
What do you mean vestigial?
Like penguins, they don't actually work.
But they already have arms. There's no reason. If you saw a penguin with arms and wings, I'd say you have a point. But penguins don't, because there's no point to it. Their wings are made for water, not for flying. What other use is a wing that's like a shadow?
Ostriches.
I honestly don't know what their wings are even for, because they're always like a puffball with a neck.
Could fly maybe at some point.
Yes, but then you have to go out and use logic by throwing it out the window and saying Morgoth/Melkor would imbue himself and waste his power, putting it into these beings wastefully.
Well, I mean, the intimidation factor is also a thing.
You have a giant guy made of shadow and flame. That's intimidating as it is. I mean, these guys literally corral dragons. That's intimidating.
Dragons have wings, some of them.
No, well, very few of the dragons have wings in the War of the Jewels. And
only the early ones don't.
Well, yeah, the late ones got slain.
No, some of them are still alive.
And my favorite, Ancalagon, you know.
Yeah.
I still love him.
So how big is Ancalagon? Mountain-sized?
Well, it's debated because the peaks that he crushes, we don't know if they're slag. I think it's supposed to be slag peaks, but we don't know how big the slag peaks were. But if they're constantly running, they could be really, really freaking big, or they could be moderately small. We don't know. That's the problem. We just know that they're mountains of slag. But peak implies mountain size, not a hill. So big is the all we're going to really know. Like, obviously bigger than Smaug. Smaug was considered a very small dragon.
Yeah, he's like a baby dragon.
Yeah. Whereas I don't think Ancalagon would fit in Erebor.
Like through the door, or
Anywhere.
if he's magically teleported inside?
Anywhere. Because it's not, Erebor's not just a big giant empty space. Like, it's tunnels, it's pathways, it's columns. There's a lot of stuff, but he would not fit because he's much bigger than Smaug.
Well, to be fair, if we take like movie Erebor, they have like a massive open hallway.
Yeah, but that's also something that Smaug barely fit without knocking things and breaking things apart.
No, he could basically fly in there almost.
Some hallways maybe, but again, Smaug is tiny. He's not a very big Drake. So it's like,
I'm thinking, sure, movie Erebor definitely, and Ancalagon doesn't fit in, but
I don't think even in book or movie he would fit. But he was also huge, and if it wasn't for Erendil, he'd be a big problem. So,
yeah, luckily he had a flying boat, so
I know it helps. But yeah, like, how are you going to get the flying dragons and drakes to do anything if you don't have the Balrogs able to corral them if they're necessary?
Sure. But for that they need to fly, because the dragons can also fly.
But that's what I'm saying. They don't. There are mentioned to both fire and cold drakes on the ground. They corral them, but they never once mention anything about the flying beasts.
To be fair, maybe Ancalagon's keeping them in check.
Doubtful. And Calagon, in that sense, would just be his own boss if that was the case. Like, even Sauron's like having to communicate with Smaug and be like, "Please join my team."
Yeah, but like Morgoth is just a bit higher than Sauron, of course.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, if Sauron was like, "Screw this guy, I'm going to become my own Dark Lord and go to Mordor right now," what's Morgoth going to do? Conquer everything between there and Mordor just to put him in his place? Doubtful. He'd try, but he'd do it for different reasons than that.
Maybe if he doesn't have to go through Beleriand, that would work.
Well, unfortunately for him, he probably would have to. And besides, there are other people groups and other things in those areas. It's just, it would cause more of a stink. And plus, if he left his northern territories, the elves would have destroyed it.
True.
So he's kind of a self-trapped.
Ancalagon after Sauron.
Possibly, but knowing Sauron, he might be able to come up with something that counters it too, or create his own drakes and his own Ancalagon. Who knows?
I don't think he's strong enough for that.
Well, in his sense, because there's already dragons, he could just breed them to that size.
Okay, that's fair.
So technically speaking, it could. I don't see it happening. I think Sauron was happy being a chief lieutenant because under Morgoth, he's more or less on equal pairings with
yeah. Anyway, let's actually continue this before
we're having a much more fun conversation. Anyway,
hour
is making people interested in Tolkien again, and why, as Tolkien fans, wouldn't we be excited about that?
Because we don't want people to bring their toxic fanfic, poisonous nonsense into the community and destroy it. That's why.
Yeah, as fans,
it's stressful for us. We kick them out.
Okay. What I was about to say was, as fans, we would like people to know the real thing. And so in order to make that known, we would first have to point out that, hey, by the way, this is actually not how it goes.
Well, if you treat the Tolkien Legendarium as history, because it's a mythology, we'd want them to know the actual history of what actually happened. Even if it's by, say, Peter Jackson's adaptation, it's going to be closer to the lore, so that when they get to the books, they're not going to be like thrown for a complete loop. Because when you get to the books, nothing in the Silmarillion remotely fits the argument of Rings of Power. Nothing. Nothing lines up. They're in the wrong places, the wrong people, doing the wrong things. You've got good people doing bad things. The one level-headed person, Galadriel, is obviously, in the Rings of Power, the most non-level-headed person ever to exist. So it's just like, they're polar opposite personalities.
Also, she
Gil-galad's
specifically
butchered.
did not take part in any of the ring stuff.
Yeah, explicitly. And she didn't,
She fucked off to Lothlorien, right?
well, and she also wouldn't approve. Like, her and I think it was Elrond were the two that were like, this guy's pretty sketch. I don't want to have anything to do with him.
Yep.
But if she knew who he was, she wouldn't be like, I'm going to keep it to myself. Tee-hee. Like, that's dumb. That's not her personality. She wouldn't be like, I'm willing to risk all of Elvendom for some random dude who claims to be Lord of Gifts.
Well, maybe for Celeborn, but
I don't think Celeborn would listen to his wife.
yeah, sure, but like, I don't know.
And no, just because I brought up Rings of Power in this video does not mean I want you to use my comment section as a forum to list out all the things you didn't like about Rings of Power.
Because you'll be stressed and block them? Yes.
You don't have to do that. I know the lore wasn't accurate.
If you know the lore's accurate, then the thing that people are drawn to Tolkien isn't the thing that they're in the community for. The community's like, hey, we appreciate Tolkien. And then they're like, but I appreciate Amazon. Well, you're not appreciating Tolkien, you're appreciating Amazon. Now, could they?
I mean, if she knows, why is it stressful?
She's not going to tell us. But if...
Because she could just say, yeah, it's not accurate, that's right.
Well, she says it here, so it should be easy to like post a pinned comment or something and say, yes, Rings of Power is inaccurate in any shape of the word. Ta-da! Okay. Then people listing out stuff, like if it's not stressful for you to say, yeah, I know it's not accurate, then it's not stressful for you to say, here's the reasons why it's inaccurate, so that people who are coming in from Rings of Power are aware of the misgivings they have of the series.
Granted, it might get annoying if people are doing that every 2 seconds, like on repeats, but...
Well, I mean, they could always just have threads and say, hey, I'm going to refer you to this thread, read through this. Then you don't have to, like, talk about it. But people come to those Tolkien communities because they want to talk about Tolkien's work, not about other people's work. The only reason that they talk about something, say, Peter Jackson's trilogies, maybe The Hobbit to some extent, is because they accept those as at least attempting to represent Tolkien as accurately as possible within the bounds that they had. If it was a TV show, it would have been able to do so much more. Hands down. But you could do an hour-long episodes for 2 seasons and possibly get the entirety, maybe even 1 season. I don't know how much you'd have to like fit in, but if you could add Tom Bombadil, you could add the whole thing in Bree, you could add the Barrow-wights and stuff. You could do a whole bunch of stuff that you wouldn't normally do and make the story as accurate as possible, the part where Christopher Tolkien would actually like it, and still get your epic battles, still get your drama, still get great actors, still do all that type of stuff.
Of course, you'd need to find a director that is willing to actually make things accurate.
Well, Peter Jackson was trying to get it as accurate as he could, but he also has
True.
like 4 hours as opposed to an entire season, which could be at that
Like, good
time.
luck getting that nowadays.
At that time, it would have been 12 to 24 episodes for a season. Now it's 8. Like we've
yeah, but would those 24 not be like a half an hour?
No, they could still do, because it's not procedural. It's more of a mini.
Yeah, but
it's
like,
more of a miniseries. Miniseries typically do an hour to 2 hour.
Okay. I thought like most of the 24 episode seasons typically had like half an hour.
Well, like
Maybe 40
Supernatural
minutes.
does 45 minutes because they add commercials. I haven't had to watch commercials in so long. I forgot what they're called. They have quote unquote ads.
Yeah.
They had that, so they have like a 15-minute slot that they spread out between the whole thing. So it's technically an hour, kind of where like anime is 22 minutes,
enough,
but
yeah.
it's technically 30 minutes. It's that kind of a thing. So 45 minutes would be that. But if you're doing it in a like the first ever TV show, like something you'd see on Netflix or whatever, you don't have ads, so you'd make it for a full set block hour.
Well, I mean, you do now.
Yeah, but even if they did 8 hours for the first book, aka Fellowship, then it's technically one book, but yeah. If you did that, guess what? You'd still have more time to do everything you needed to do and make it look freaking fantastic. And then the second one could come out as another season. You could do 3 seasons. Boom. You probably have enough time to make everything you need. And it would become, you could do weekly releases where people would pay you every single week to come see an episode, which is an hour long. And they'd see the entire freaking series. And you'd make bank off of how many times people come back and buy that ticket. Like, I'd love that. Maybe when AI gets there, we can have that. That'd be great. But as it is, probably not.
I know it wasn't a perfect adaptation.
It wasn't an adaptation, period.
I don't want to hear that, and I don't want to have...
I don't want to hear you say that these people coming in can say whatever they want about Tolkien when it comes to Rings of Power. That's stressful. For Tolkien fans, anyway. So if that doesn't stress you out, then you're probably not a Tolkien fan.
have to block you from this community if you violate that boundary. The reason I have that boundary in place is because there are people like this who really enjoyed Rings of Power, and when they hear other...
Well, yes, you can acknowledge people enjoy trash. It just means their takes are trash. Whoopity-doo. People like trash movies all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone has their cheat day in good quality media. Like, we pick something like, I love Monty Python movies. They're not good movies per se in the, like, the structure and everything.
Hilarious.
But they're freaking great. They're comedy. Comedy is rarely a well done story because it's usually so ridiculous, and like Blazing Saddles is freaking great. I wouldn't call it a masterpiece in storytelling, but I would definitely say it's a masterpiece in mixing comedy with a particular theme, aka the Wild West. It's fantastic from that perspective, but comedy is always going to be excluded in its own thing. You can have poorly made horror films. Like, they're horribly made, pun intended, and they're fun to watch. That's possible. So it's not that big of a deal to like something that is bad. But to come in and say, I like this, my opinion is valid, when it's the Rings of Power in a community that will never take it seriously, or shouldn't take it seriously, I should say, they should be aware that, yeah, we don't like Rings of Power here, but we're glad you're here to talk about Tolkien. That's all you have to do! But some people are a bit more overzealous about it, and they probably cause a lot more problems for everybody else. It happens. But to, like, blanket statement everything is really dumb.
Other Tolkien fans talking about how much of a crap show it was and how stupid it was that other people liked it, it can make them feel a very unpleasant feeling. And
they disagreed with me. It's unpleasant.
I don't want that. I want to welcome people on this page.
Unless they cause you stress by liking Tolkien.
And I want to help other people who have come to Tolkien by way of Rings of Power to feel welcome here. And that's the kind of energy I'm bringing into this space. So let's be excited. We don't have to like Rings of Power. You don't have to like Rings of Power. It's totally okay if you don't. But there are people like this who are literally reading...
mention that?
Because you're stressing people out, and that creates a very stressful environment, and that stressful environment makes people feel an unpleasant feeling called stress. But you're allowed to block people, which then again, creates a stressful environment.
We don't know what the comments that sparked this was
sure,
like.
But I can almost guarantee you it wasn't actually bad. It was just saying, yeah, they didn't have these features. Typically, it would be considered as a racist or a misogynist approach because they didn't have all these female warriors in the elven armies. They didn't have all these diverse elves in the armies. They didn't have all these diverse dwarves, blah, 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 blah. Saying these things don't exist in Tolkien is considered a nasty comment. But that's
an assumption on your part, right? It could have just been...
I know, but I'm saying that...
this person attracted a bunch of creepy people that just didn't...
Sure, but anytime somebody says this was nasty, it almost always... Like, I had people say that, oh, Wheel of Time fans are saying nasty things, so I had to block them. It's like, what do they say? Well, they said there wasn't a diverse population in the Two Rivers. It's like, that's not racist. That's just a statement of fact. Like, And you and I think
I
even
mean,
Matt.
I thought the thing you said was nasty, not the other one, right?
Well, yes, but I can. If you disagree with somebody, you can read whatever you want into that and call it nasty. It's not actually
That's fine.
nasty. It's just your perception of it is nasty. It's like saying, well, they're a bigot, they're a homophobe, they're a misogynistic, they're sexist, they're
Yeah.
this. That's considered nasty, even if the comment isn't
Sure.
actually those things. So
But
somebody's like, I'm going to I think the one I saw was because of they were talking about the casting for Lan, how Lan's not Asian. I'm like, this shouldn't be a hot topic, but I don't know if you know this, but he's not Asian. He's never depicted once as Asian, whether it be in the graphic novels, which we're working with Robert Jordan,
fair enough.
and
Yeah,
it wasn't
he's
from any.
described in a specific way, right?
Yeah, so you can't be like, oh well, you know, this is in whatever sense of the word. It's not racist to say Lan isn't Asian. It's not. It's a fact. He's nowhere given that. The Malkier people are never described as Asian in any shape or form. So saying that he's not is not racist. It's just saying it's a miscast from a phenotypical position. Maybe the guy could have portrayed him as Lan and it'd be something we kind of throw off, like, oh, it's not that big of a deal or whatever. But he didn't even portray Lan right, so what's the point? As we call him, Titty Twister Lan Alman Dragon. Or Lan Titty Twister Alman Dragon.
I was trying to forget that.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to tell you about how many times he gets emotional and gets abandoned by Moraine because they have such a great 20-year-long bond that's strengthened in every aspect. Oh, wait.
The Silmarillion because of it, and why, as Tolkien fans, wouldn't we be excited about that?
Why wouldn't we?
I mean, I'd be excited about people reading the Silmarillion.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it as a starting point, but
that's true.
I mean, I would say if she thought reading The Lord of the Rings was difficult, Silmarillion's gonna be worse. And if she's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I came to it from watching Peter Jackson, okay, that's where you start them then. But The Hobbit's so much easier to go into because it's written for kids, so any adult can understand it more or less, the kind of feel of it. So I wouldn't recommend, like, yeah, I'm going to go into this from the Silmarillion, which is one of the hardest things in literature to read. So,
Well, I'm not so sure about that.
About which part?
That it's the hardest thing in literature to read.
I said one of the
I'm
hardest.
sure there's much more difficult ones. I haven't read any more difficult ones. But
so what you're saying is you're full of crap. Seagull crap, specifically.
No, but also, like, I don't really... Maybe that's just a me thing.
It's definitely a you thing.
I don't think I've ever really considered anything I'd read difficult. I mean, the Silmarillion...
Well, yes, but you and I are what we call intellectuals. We're a little bit brighter than the standard retarded stone. We understand how structures...
I wouldn't call it difficult. It's just not...
It's heavy.
Formatted in...
It's heavy.
Maybe heavy is the better word.
It's heavier. It's formatted differently. It uses words of the old English language and things... in a style, I should say, rather than actually direct words. But it uses the word queer in the original sense, not in the modern sense. So people who are reading it
actually doesn't pop up in Silmarillion.
Well, not in Silmarillion. It does in the Fellowship, but because when they go to the Barrow Downs, they're prancing around naked, gaily, and queerly and stuff. It means happy and strange, is what it means. But people in the modern sense would not interpret that correctly because they don't take it to the context it was written in, which is also something you say about the Bible. But anyway, as we move on, I hope, I really, 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 really hope that people understand that we don't want to gatekeep Tolkien so that nobody can join. We want to gatekeep Tolkien so that Tolkien stays Tolkien, and anything else nonsense-wise...
And that people become aware of what the true version of the story is.
Yes, that's the thing. It's like separating reality from fiction and the more authorian sense in terms of who's writing it, what their intent was behind it. It has nothing to do with this. You don't have Frodo and Sam being gay, blah, 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 from a modern perspective. That's just because you have that in your head does not mean that's what the story means. That's why we have to read books multiple times and, oh, wow, I never thought it was like that before. Now I know it is. So
It would be really nice if every book just had like an accompanying book that it just had the
companions.
author say, "This is why I wrote this bit the way I did."
That'd be their notes, which would be nice, but not every author writes notes.
Yeah, but it would be nice if everyone did. So.
Oh yeah, it'd be fantastic. I read the crap out of that because it helps me understand the book better. But the thing is I'm a reader who reads the book to understand how it was written. I'm not a person who reads a book to understand it however I freaking feel like, regardless of what it was written for, or how it was written, or why it was written. I would think you're probably the same as well, but
Probably.
You never really
maybe
thought about
to
it.
a lesser extent.
I'm a bit more hardcore, but that's also because
I'm not as autistic.
I'm not just autistic, I'm a weaponized autistic. But it is what it is. But what are your guys' thoughts? Leave a like in the comment, or like in the comment. Leave a comment below. Like, comment, share, all that fun jazz. Blah 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 blah. Redundancy. Check the description if you'd like to discover some new content creators that you may not be familiar with. And if you have any ideas for ones you'd like me to add to the list, I can check them out and potentially add them. Leave that in the comments as well. Also check out the companies that are more friendly to our anti-censorship viewpoints, that are more or less positive towards our neck of the woods on the interwebs. And also check out Twitter/X if you care to follow me there, or more importantly, join a Discord channel so you can enjoy the hordes of memes I drop pretty much daily. And
yeah,
also,
fuck. That's a lot of memes.
I think like day one, I was like, yeah, we're at like 300 memes already. I don't know. I drop them a lot because I just see something like, ha, that's funny, and then I throw it out.
I mean, I'm stealing a lot of them, but
You're what?
my point still stands. I'm stealing a lot of them.
Well, of course you are, you thief. Nasty filthy hobbits, they stole it from us. Sorry, my voice isn't at its best, so I can't do it accurately. But, yeah, check that out. That's really fun. Also, you can come join for Tuesday night streams. I have doing currently a horror series at the moment, and it is fun. Ironically, I don't really care for horror games that often, but the story has me kind of intrigued, so I'm going through that, and I will continue to do so unless you guys say you don't want to actually watch me do that.
Yeah, didn't know you
But
were enjoying Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines too.
it's not that. It's like early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah, no, I was just joking.
Of course you are, because you know
Terrible game.
I have better taste than you. Or than that, I should say. Probably the more accurate term. I mean, maybe I do have better taste than you. I don't know. I just play a lot. I play a lot more variety of games than you do. So
maybe
way too many games. But you can come there, vote for games that I have posted that I could think of off the top of my head. I have thousands of games to play, so that doesn't leave a whole lot to open. Or check out the old streams I have and gameplays and stuff that I have already done, so you can possibly see something that might be interesting. I have a thing for trilogies of late. I did all 3 Fables, I did all 3 of the Time Splitters, and now I'm doing all 3 of the freaking horror game. Possibly. We'll see if I can fundraise the 3rd one, because I got the first 2 parts free. But if we can raise money for the 3rd one, I'll get it and play it. I've already had some people offer to help pitch in for it, so we'll see if I can fund it. It's only $9, so that should be hard to fund, but we'll see. But yeah, fun things like that, and also get schedules for live streams and stuff like that. So, Mr. Sage, you have nothing, no platform, no nothing, so you'll be here if you're here, and if you're not here, you're
yeah.
So hey, he said it here first, guys. He is gay. Anyway. Glad you could come, Sage. It's been a while. Okay. That's going to get clipped. Not what I meant to
so,
say.
yeah.
Not what I meant to say. Thanks for being here, Sage. Everyone misses you, and they want you to come back, but you'd have to get a better job, I suppose. Anyway, thanks, everybody, for sticking around, and we'll see you around in the next one. So until then, walk in the light, my friends.
Farewell.